Hey, this is Brian with Westcott Woodworks. Thanks for tuning in. I've got another video today to show you how to glue up two pieces of wood. So I have two and I want to join them as one. Kind of like marriage, actually. And we can make a different video about the bonds of the marriage union, but that's for a different day. So why am I gluing these up, you may ask, or you may not. You don't care. I don't know, but you're watching this video, so you're at least interested. I made this cabinet, or I'm making this cabinet rather, which I have another video for. I can tag in this thing in the comments. But I've got a drawer up here, which I can actually use one solid piece of wood for. I can cut this down and make that fit. However, down here and the one below it that you can't quite see, that's a pretty wide opening for a drawer. You're not really going to want to use one solid piece of wood for this. The reason for that is over time, and maybe not even really that much time, the wood is going to start to cup. It's going to start to bow a little bit on the top. And so if I show you this, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There are these growth rings that go through there because, believe it or not, trees don't grow up square. They usually grow round. At least in my part of the world, they do. So what will happen is sometimes these growth rings, as the wood settles and sits out and continues to dry and the moisture kind of fluctuates, the moisture levels, this wood is going to have the tendency to kind of do one of these numbers. If you use a wide piece over here, it's going to do that on this drawer. So the best practice, in my opinion, even if you have a piece that's this wide, I would go ahead and cut it in half and then flip it upside down so that you can have the grain kind of one going up and the other kind of going down, just to kind of offset some of that. So I need to glue up these drawer fronts. So I'm going to go ahead and take these. They're already ripped to the right length, or cross cut rather. They've got one clean edge over here that's straight and flat. I usually get my wood from the mill. I have them run it through a straight line rip saw. Saves me a bunch of time, and I don't have to buy a joiner. So that's nice too. Anyway, we're gonna glue these up so that they'll fit in here. You probably might be wondering, why are these so long? That's because these drawers here are the same size. So I'm gonna glue one piece up, or make one piece rather that's long, and then cut it to the right width that I need. So for that, we're going to go over to the table saw. You'll want to wear eye protection and ear protection. My table saw is not that loud because it's got a nice sharp blade on there. But there's a lot of high-pitched sounds and things that can kind of go off from the table saw blade spinning at high speeds that maybe you don't even hear but can be damaging to your hearing. So we'll head over that way now. So we're standing here kind of near the table saw, but I just wanted to explain what I'm doing so that way you're not like, what is he doing? So I've got that one straight edge I told you about. So the first thing I do is, you can't really see it in the video, but this board, for the whole length of the board, kind of does a, I don't know, one of these numbers. So that's very dramatic to what it's doing. But so I need to find the skinniest portion of this board. I'm going to take it over to the saw. I'm going to run it through and rip this other edge so it's nice and clean. Then I'm going to do the same with the other board as well, so they're nice and clean. Then what I do, and on a board like this, I may be able to get away with not running it through again, but I don't like to mess around with gluing up joints, and you force it together with the clamps, and then all of a sudden, you know, when you let go of the clamps, the glue is going to be strong, but if you didn't pinch it together good, it could separate. So I'm actually going to spin it and run it through several more times while I flip the board. And I just want to make sure that when I'm done and I'm ready to glue this up, that these two sides here are 100% parallel to one another. So that way, when I go to join these up, I've got a nice tight glue seam. Okay, so we've got both of our boards cut to the right length to make sure they're wide enough to get two drawer fronts out of it, and then I've got them ripped parallel on both sides. So if you were watching me, what I did is I ripped it to the rough width so I could get the maximum amount of both pieces. And then what I did is I just barely bumped the fence over a little, so you're just, I mean, you're basically making sawdust. You're not actually cutting more of the board, like strips of it off. It's just, I mean, not even a full blade width. Then you take the board, if you run it through this way, pop your fence up, just give it a little bump, put it back down, and then you're going to flip it this way, run it back through, so this side is now against the fence. Sometimes if you get a long board or something that's really, you know, kind of out of whack a little bit, you may have to, you know, run it through, bump it over, run it through, bump it over. You may have to do that several times to get these to where they're going to be nice and tight there for a nice glue seam, which you're not going to be able to see. I mean, I guess zoom in, but generally you want to know if you're going to have a nice tight glue seam is you can set the boards edge to edge, shine a light through on the other side while you're on this side and see if you can see through it, which I'm not going to do, but if you're concerned, like, I don't know if I got this good enough, that's one way that you can check it. So the next thing we're going to do is go over to the clamp rack, and we're going to clamp this guy up. So we're over here at the clamp rack. I actually am fortunate enough to have a clamping rack. It makes things go faster, but if you just have regular bar clamps, you can obviously clamp up with those as well. It's a lot more difficult for me to pull those all the way back out just to glue up this one thing, so I'm going to do it on my clamp rack because it's here. I'm using a Titebond 2 in this squeeze bottle, and then I've got Titebond 2 in this little roller that I use to spread the glue out. And so what I do is just get you a nice bead of glue on here. Again, it's cold, and this is partially blocked, so it's going to take a little extra effort to get this glue out of here. But you're going to just put you a nice bead down there on the edge. You don't really have to do both pieces. You can just put glue on one, and you use this glue roller here. It's got this end on here that you can take these off to clean them. And sometime I ought to make a video just to show how to clean those, because it's a lot easier to just let the glue dry, but we'll save that for a different video. Spread that out there so it's got a nice even coat all the way across the seam. Lay that down, lay this down, bring them together, and we'll bring my clamp heads here. And then one thing you want to watch out for as you're clamping, and again, I'm using this rack, but if you're using bar clamps or some other form of clamping measure, you want to make sure that this seam stays pretty even. You could clamp it up and they're offset, and then you end up planing a lot of the material off. So make sure they're on there pretty good. And then you'll also want to make sure that these pieces are flat on the bar underneath. So that way it glues up nice and flat. And so to do that, you can get a little extra help from using smaller clamps. So I've got these little 6-inch clamps here, and what I usually do is take it, put it on there, and you're just going to clamp over the seam just to make sure those are nice and flat. And then look down and make sure that you're flat on the actual clamp rack itself, or the bar clamp if that's what you're using. Then you'll just tighten these down. Got that side, I'll go ahead and do this side. Tighten this down so that's nice and flat. We'll do our middle clamp. Sometimes I start in the middle and work out. Sometimes I start at one side and work to the other side. Just kind of depends on my mood that day. You don't have to clamp so hard that you hurt yourself or that you hear the wood start cracking. Because if you do, that means you probably didn't make your glue joint tight enough. But as you tighten those together, you should see a little bit of glue start to squirt out. So here you can see I've got my clamp over here, and we've got glue squeezing out all the way down there. So we've done a good job squaring those pieces up for the glue joint. So we've done a good job with that, and now we sit and we wait. And we watch the glue dry. Actually, you don't have to do that. Usually you throw something in a glue rack and then you go do something else. Well, I appreciate you watching the video. I don't know if you have any questions or not. Just leave them below and I'll try and answer them as I get time. But that's pretty much all there is to gluing up two pieces of wood. Once they come out of the rack, you can run them through your planer to get rid of the glue and flatten everything out totally. Hopefully you glued it up flat, and you can just kind of sand it as well if you don't have a planer. So again, if you have any questions, leave below. I'll try and get you some answers as I get time. And stay tuned for more videos. Thanks for watching.